good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Toledo on this 10th day of November, 2024. I am Joe Moran, this morning's worship associate, and I'm here with Reverend Tim Barger, Toledo Unitarian senior minister. Jeffrey Maxey, our music director, is on the piano, singing and conducting our First Unitarian choir. Soloist Melissa Jeter, who is also our student minister seminarian. Jenny Gottman, our director of lifelong learning, will tell today's story. And the tech crew at the back is led by our producer director, Walter McGee. We want to say a special happy birthday, plus 1 day to Walter. Congratulations, Walter. And with him is Andy Gottman controlling the cameras, and David Strickler, who is also our commission lay leader, is at the soundboard. And Julie McGee, the acting president of our board of trustees, takes on a general assignment for tech support. We have many more volunteers helping too, greeters in the lobby, religious education helpers for today's RE activities, and we have a kitchen crew preparing for our coffee hour led by the amazing Carla Logan Mercer. We here at First Unitarian are a church with no official doctrine or creed. You don't have to sign anything that states we believe in order to be a member of this religious organization. But we do encourage all of us, to develop our own credos as we develop our individual beliefs. We support each other in our own searches for truth and meaning, and sometimes we find them. We are welcoming to everyone, as we sang in our opening song. And if you are a visitor today, and I think some out here, you may notice that there's a bookmark in front of you with some details about Unitarian Universalism. Please feel free to take one with you. There's also a yellow card in the pew rack that you can introduce yourself to us. And it may, if you will, you can include your email address, and we will be glad to send you news of our weekly activities. As you meet people today, please feel free to introduce yourself, ask any questions you might have of us. We're also very happy to entertain questions. And we also welcome those of you today who are joining us virtually on the Toledo Unitarians YouTube channel, whether you're live watching us today or later when you tune in. We hope this time this morning serves your spirit.
Hi, I'm Reverend Tim, and let me add to Joe's welcome. Today we have added a table in front of the chancel with candles for you to light if you feel so moved. You can come up and light a candle whenever we have music in the service. At those times, it won't interrupt people speaking, and I have already told Jeffrey we're just going to disrespect the music by moving around at that time. Some of us want to express our frustrations with the state of the nation or with the ways of our world, to remember people in our own lives, to illumine their joys and sorrows in a way. And this candle lighting isn't much ritual, but it can be helpful in that way. And we also light our chalice every Sunday. The flame of the chalice that we light in our services symbolizes courage and illumination and honors our search for truth and meaning. Let's all say the words for chalice lighting together. They'll be on the screen and they're in our order of service. And we'll say that as Tom lights the flame. Our chalice has the spirit of Unitarian Universalism. We light it centered in love. May it glow with sacredness and shine on for each and for all. And while we're reciting together, Joe will lead us in saying the covenant of our congregation. This is not a creed, but what we share with general agreement and what we as a religious community work toward.
So please now join with me, and this is printed in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Beyond ourselves in this world that we call attention to and that you might give focus to in meditation, contemplation, or prayer, many of us are reeling in a way over the election results not being what you hoped for or expected. And a few might be celebrating, for liberal religion and liberal politics are not synonymous. And we have Unitarian Universalists who have conservative political ways. I will say more about the election at sermon time, but that is top of the minds of most of us here today, I expect. I also want to congratulate a member of our congregation, Mac Driscoll, for his being elected to the Toledo City Council. We Unitarian Universalists still have an effect on the governmental system, and Mac's victory reminds us that local is our base. We are in community, and we want to live our Unitarian Universalist values and have our government operate with these values at the core of their decision making. It's not easy, is it? The political ways coming now give many of us emotional overload, even some deep hurt, and feelings of potential and real harm to people we love and people who need social support. In a spiritual aspect, do what you need to calm your soul, to practice your religion, which for some is silence and removal from the process for a time. For others is activism to the extreme, but be safe and let your better self prevail. And find touchstones such as a weekly religious service or your own meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Touchstones include other people in your circles. And remember that you might be a touchstone for them. So care for the other as you care for yourself. We are also thankful for veterans of military service. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, which traces back to Armistice Day, which commemorated the November 11th, 1918 signing of the armistice and ending of hostilities in World War I on that date, which was followed by peace treaty negotiations. Armistice Day expanded to be Veterans Day in 1954 and recognizes the service of veterans in all wars. Veterans Day is inclusive of living and deceased veterans. We thank those who have chosen, or for some, were drafted and served, to support our country as soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen. The U.S. Air Force and Coast Guard still use men as a non-gender specific term, and guardians for the Space Force. I add the hope that the work and sacrifice of our veterans continues to give us a strong, safe, and free United States where all can have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today is the 49th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a Great Lakes iron ore ship, sinking in a storm. Today I was told that its captain, Ernest McSorley, was making his final voyage before he was to retire in Toledo. We think of those who work so hard and in dangerous conditions to provide us with resources. There is much unsaid that we might give spiritual attention to when we think beyond ourselves. Know that we are in community. We can share burdens and be glad for accomplishments. And we are together in the many dimensions of spirit we each have and bring. Amen. And now please join in our opening hymn, number 1051, We Are. This song by E.M. Barnwell, who was a member of the singing group Sweet Honey in the Rock, is, according to information provided by the Unitarian Universalist Association, the last song in a suite that began with the lyric, Lord, it's midnight, a dark and fear-filled midnight. Lord, it's midnight without stars. Dr. Barnwell wanted to create a complete circle of experience, and so she wrote, For each child that's born, a morning star rises. This phrase is meant to establish hope, and it defines the uniqueness of each one of us. No matter what our race, culture, or ethnicity, each one of us has been called into being and are the sum total of all who came before. In the composer's words, each and every one of us stands atop a lineage that has had at its core mothers and fathers and teachers and dreamers and shamans and healers and builders and warriors and thinkers and. So in spite of our uniqueness, we come from and share every experience that humankind has ever had. In this way, we are one. Let's sing. For you who are willing and able, please stand.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Delightful. I would like to first say, in honor of apparently the birthday week that we're having, we need to say happy birthday to our beloved Jalen, who turned 14 last week. And to our beloved Caden, who turns 16 tomorrow. So I would like to ask all of my young friends who would like to come forward and listen to the story. You can stay where you are if you would like to, that's fine too. So raise your hands if you have been hearing some talk in your house about the election that we just had. anybody like to share how you or your grown-ups are feeling about the election? Jalen. Okay, let's let Jalen go first, and then we'll hear from you, Towns, okay? What'd you say, Jalen? Mad? Okay. Towns, what did you say? You don't know how your grown-ups are feeling. That's okay. Susie? Sad, yeah. People are having a lot of big feelings right now. And some of those feelings are good, and some of them are not so good. Some people are feeling hurt and mad and sad and nervous. And bad feelings like that are nothing new. We have all had them before. You don't have any feelings about it? Okay, well, that's okay. That's okay. You'll learn more about it when you get older, and you'll have bigger feelings about it then. What is the thing we do at church when we bring all of our big feelings to each other? Does anybody remember? You're only happy and you don't have any more feelings? Is that what you said? Okay, that's awesome that you're happy this morning. That's good to hear. So what is the first thing we do when we get into our classroom? Susie? Light the chalice? And then what's the second thing we do when we get into our classroom? We talk about our joys and concerns. And Towns does not know how we talk about our joys and concerns, and that's okay. That's another thing we'll do when you get older. So we bring our joys and our concerns to church, and we air them, and we talk about them. We talk about how our hearts feel heavy. And the reason we do that is so that we know we don't have to handle all of our big feelings by ourselves. We are here to handle them together. We are not alone. We take care of each other. We share our burdens. We hug each other. And then what comes next? After we have talked about our big feelings, Towns does not know what comes next, and that is okay. We're going to talk about that right now. After we have shared our feelings, hugged each other, maybe started to come to terms with the things that are in our hearts, Towns doesn't know what terms are? We start to handle our feelings. And then the next thing we do, we go into the world with love. Towns, can you tell me what color this flag is? Looks yellow or orange to Towns. That is exactly right. It's kind of a yellowy orange. It says, love is at the center. It hangs in our classroom. It says love is at the center because for Unitarian Universalists, love is at the center of everything we do. Yellow's on the side and orange is in the middle. Thank you. You're an excellent color commentator. And there's some white on there too. For UUs, love is at the center of everything we do, every word we say, every action we take, every vote we cast. Everything that we do in love because it is our job to put more love into the world. That's okay. Just sit and listen. That's all we're doing right now. We practice bringing more love into the world every Sunday in our classroom. The terms of our covenant are things like we use kind words, we respect each other, we treat people the way they want to be treated, we respect ourselves, we respect each other. When we mess up, we apologize. What if, when we're going forward into the world with love, what if someone hurts us? You don't know if you can hurt me? You never have. I think you and I are pretty good friends. When we're going into the world with love, and then someone hurts us. What does love tell us to do? It's a little more complicated. We can say, hey, that hurt. I did not enjoy that. That was mean. And maybe that person will apologize. And maybe we can talk it over and find a way to come to terms and forgive each other. If they don't apologize, or if they don't say words that make us come to an understanding and forgive each other, what does love tell us to do then? That is a hard question. There is not just one answer. If there's a person that we just can't get along with, we don't hurt them even if we're very angry. The best thing we can do sometimes is just to back off from each other for a while, so we don't keep feeling anger and hurt and sadness in our hearts, and we don't cause anyone else to feel anger and hurt and sadness in their hearts. We handle those big feelings, and then we begin again in love. Hurts can live in your belly. That's absolutely true. All of this can be challenging, and we don't get it right every time, and that is okay. We'll mess up. When we mess up, we feel those bad feelings. And then what comes next? We start over again in love. You might have to start over with love 10 or 20 or 50 times a day. That is okay. Every time you do it, you are doing the right thing. Every time you had those feelings, those bad feelings, when they start to calm down a little bit, that's when you think, what comes next? And what comes next is we start over again with love.
Let's sing for the children, as this is the time when they and their teachers and helpers leave for religious education.
I was blue, just as blue as I could be. Every day was a cloudy day for me. Then good luck came knocking at my door. Skies were gray, but they're not gray anymore. Blue skies smiling at me. Blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, never think the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on.
Thank you, Jeffrey. For this second segment of our spiritual practice in the Sunday service, a time of mindful meditation, contemplation, and prayer. I bring a sense of perspective. This does not minimize the importance of the election and our work going forward to keep our Unitarian Universalist values as guidance for our politicians and for us. But I hope Carl Sagan's words help us in a way to remember how unique we are and how vast is our universe. He presented a picture taken in February 1990 by the Voyager 1 spacecraft, 3.7 billion miles away from Earth, beyond the orbits of Neptune and Pluto, traveling at 40,000 miles an hour away from the sun. Where Voyager 1 was, our planet was barely perceptible, as just a pale blue dot, as you can see on the screen. Carl Sagan wrote, "Look at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this pale point of light, of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Let's observe 1 minute of silence, hearing only the world around us. Then we will sing Spirit of Life.
I share this reading from Dear Prudence by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. The sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you.
We'll just let skip pretty much the fact that it is a gray and rainy day. The sky is blue, and all of you are beautiful.
For our UUFYI weekly church newsletter, the day after the election, I wrote a description of what's coming for the Sunday service. Here's what I said. The election is over, and the results are not what I or what most of the members of our congregation wanted. However, the world is still here. And the need for people with Unitarian Universalist values to be part of and to live in the world and to do what we can to support people who will likely suffer from the way the world is run is still needed. We're in the midst of Ohio changing from purple to red for a while. The blue issues and people working for them have been pushed to the side. We will grieve over the loss, but we must care for ourselves and continue to help the people whose lives and loves are more vulnerable without even the small government support that had helped them. Part of that helping others is to pay attention to our own well-being. Care for yourself, your family, your friends, and with that foundation, reach out. On Sunday, I'll be speaking on blue. I don't know yet what I'll say, but it will be a time for us to come together. Maybe not immediately to plan how to move forward, but for now, to be with one another and to know that we side with love. I struggled preparing today's talk. This is a religious service. A sermon is not a speech. I can't give an election post-mortem trying to inspire you, us, to make sure democracy prevails in the end. I also know that there are Unitarian Universalists whose vote likely went to Donald Trump for whatever reason or issue led them there. And those social justice and participation in democracy at all levels are Unitarian Universalist values. I can't set aside the spiritual. Even though this is a pretty short talk, let me ease in with the focus fuzzy about church and state. I start with the title. I called today's sermon Blue. Perhaps drawn from my silliness, I figured that the title could work if there was a blue sweep of Democrats elected, which didn't happen. That if Donald Trump was elected, we might be blue, and many of us are. And third, if I could just riff on the color blue, and that's what I'd really like to do, but I can't do only that and be responsible as your minister. So quickly, let me unload a bit of off the topic of election blue. Some of my self-care is to let my mind roam. So here you get some of that stream. You be sure during this post-election reaction period to honor your ways of decompressing, as I've done and am sharing here. I'll get blue into religion and politics, but I've got to ease into it. You might take some comfort that I'll try to do all this in a sermon of only 25 minutes or so. For the picture accompanying the UUFYI blurb with which I began this talk, I used an image of just the color blue, taken from the website for the design company Canva. Canva's description of blue includes the blue hex code is #0000FF. Canva gave details for that code. In a RGB color space made from 3 colored lights for red, green, and blue, hex number 0000FF is made of 0% red, 0% green, and 100% blue. In a CMYK color space, also known as process color or 4-color and used in color printing, hex number 0000FF is made of 100% cyan, 100% magenta, 0% yellow, and 0% black. Blue has a hue angle of 240 degrees, a saturation of 100%, and a lightness of 50%. Simple, primary, we've got it. Or we can say, so what about the technical details? But let's consider what blue implies. I turned to Pantone, a company that develops color standards for printing, for painting, for just about any use of color. Pantone kind of playfully has a color of the year. In 2020, that color was classic blue, which Pantone described as instilling calm, confidence, and connection, an enduring blue hue that highlights our desire for a dependable and stable foundation on which to build as we cross the threshold into a new era. I wonder, was that threshold into a new era the end of the Trump administration? Another one of which is coming back in January 2025. Is classic blue the color of Joe Biden, whose long tenure as a senator, then vice president, then president, in a way made Democratic blue classic? The color of the year for 2024, incidentally, is peach fuzz. Make your own connections. For a religious tie, Pantone's website stated that classic blue brings a sense of peace and tranquility to the human spirit, offering refuge. All of our spirits need some of that, true, even when political change doesn't seem to be threatening our ways of life and even the lives of people close to us. In 2020, Leatrice Eisman, the executive director of the Pantone Color Institute, wrote that we are living in a time that requires trust and faith. We still are. Trust, faith, and awe are important parts of religion. Classic blue can bring us some peace and tranquility, but what is beyond the earth, what is past our blue sky that's smiling at us, is also a realm of the world religions. In Unitarian Universalism, we place great reliance on and even faith in science. And we're thankful that the astronomer Carl Sagan, so revered here that our church has a room named for him, had a way of showing the religious awe in science, like he did with the pale blue dot reading in our spiritual practice, Turning Inward, today. I'll make another tie of blue with religion by moving from Sagan to the spaceflight company Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post and made some news only about 2 weeks ago by ordering the Post not to make a presidential endorsement, though the editorial board had written but not yet published an endorsement of Kamala Harris. Well, Bezos had invited the then 90-year-old William Shatner, who had played Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek TV shows and movies and wrote Star Trek novels, to be a passenger on a Blue Origin flight beyond the Earth's atmosphere on October 13th, 2021. In Shatner's 2022 book, Boldly Go, Reflections on a Life of Awe and Wonder, Shatner described his impression of the brief flight. Shatner wrote that after the rocket launched and the cabin reached the point of weightlessness, I needed to get to the window as quickly as possible to see what was out there. I love the mystery of the universe. I love all the questions that have come to us over thousands of years of exploration and hypotheses. When I looked into space, there was no mystery, no majestic awe to behold. All I saw was death. I saw a cold, black, dark emptiness. It was deep, enveloping, all-encompassing. I turned toward the light of home. I could see the curvature of the earth, the beige of the desert, the white of the clouds, and the blue of the sky. It was life, nurturing, sustaining life, Mother Earth, Gaia, and I was leaving her. Everything I had thought was wrong. Everything I had expected to see was wrong. I had thought that going into space would be the ultimate catharsis of that connection I had been looking for between all living things. That being up there would be the next beautiful step to understanding the harmony of the universe. I discovered that the beauty isn't out there, it's down here with all of us. Leaving that behind made my connection to our tiny planet even more profound. It was among the strongest feelings of grief I have ever encountered. When someone travels to space and views the Earth from orbit, a sense of the planet's fragility takes hold in an ineffable, instinctive manner. It can change the way we look at the planet, but also other things like countries, ethnicities, religions. It can prompt an instant reevaluation of our shared harmony and a shift in focus to all the wonderful things we have in common instead of what makes us different. It reinforced tenfold my own view on the power of our beautiful, mysterious, collective human entanglement. And eventually, it returned a feeling of hope to my heart. In this insignificance we share, we have one gift that other species perhaps do not. We are aware not only of our insignificance, but the grandeur around us that makes us insignificant. That allows us perhaps a chance to rededicate ourselves to our planet, to each other, to life and love all around us, if we seize that chance. If we seize that chance. Reminds me of Ben Franklin's response to the question, if the United States had a republic or a monarchy, and he said, a republic if you can keep it. Caring for the environment, doing what we can to preserve this pale blue dot, and promoting democracy, working for social and racial justice are core values of Unitarian Universalism's religion. Even though conditions have changed with this election, for our issues, I ask us to seize the chance. Keep it. Don't quit. Reverend William J. Barber II was quoted in a story by Ada Perlman in yesterday's Yale Daily News saying, We don't have the luxury to quit. We don't believe God is a Democrat or Republican. We have to look at it through the lens of our deepest moral values. Our deepest moral values, which are outlined in the scriptures, are justice and love and truth and mercy. And irregardless of how our nation votes, from a moral and theological standpoint, a majority vote does not mean right. Barber expressed disappointment, Perlman also wrote, that American politics has become more focused on candidates' rhetoric than on addressing the deeper moral questions. You can align with Barber and, like Jenny Gottman said in our story today, start over with love. Facebook tells me that after the election of 2016, when Donald Trump first secured the presidency by way of the Electoral College, I wrote, "I don't have words of great comfort or profundity after the election, just this as a temporary mantra. We liberals made it through Reagan and will make it through Trump." Well, we did make it through that term and through the January 6, 2021 insurrection that tried to keep him in office after he had lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden. Now we've had the election near the end of Biden's 4-year term, and Donald Trump has been elected to the presidency a second time, with Vice President Kamala Harris not prevailing in her short-time campaign after Biden moved aside as his party's nominee. I must trust our still developing democracy in the United States of America and pick up that mantra I wrote 8 years ago. We liberals made it through 2016 to 2020 and will make it through 2024 to 2028. But I have to qualify that statement a bit. I'm not as confident this year as I was in 2016. I read historian Heather Cox Richardson's weekday blog, Letters to an American, fairly regularly, and I find hers is possibly the most insightful in-the-moment analysis of the state of our nation. The day after the election, Richardson, a professor at Boston College, wrote, "These results were a surprise to everyone. Trump is a 78-year-old convicted felon who has been found liable for sexual assault and is currently under indictment in a number of jurisdictions. He refused to leave office peacefully when voters elected President Joe Biden in 2020, instead launching an unprecedented attack on the U.S. Capitol to stop the counting of electoral votes, and said during his campaign that he would be a dictator on his first day in office. Trump's election will also mean he will no longer have to answer to the law for his federal indictments. Special counsel Jack Smith is winding them down ahead of Trump's inauguration. So he will not be tried for retaining classified documents or attempting to overthrow the U.S. government when he lost in 2020. Harris urged people to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together. She told those feeling as if the world is dark indeed these days to fill the sky with the light of 1 billion brilliant stars, the light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service. And to let that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. Yesterday, Richardson wrote, Social media has been flooded with stories of Trump voters who are shocked to learn that tariffs will raise consumer prices as reporters are covering that information. There are also stories that voters who chose Trump to lower household expenses are unhappy to discover that their undocumented relatives are in danger of deportation. Meanwhile, Trump's advisors told journalists that Trump wasted valuable time at the beginning of his first term and that they will not make that mistake again. One reporter recalled that the Washington Post showed before the election that voters overwhelmingly preferred Harris's policies to Trump's if they didn't know which candidate proposed them. A poll from October showed that voters who were misinformed about immigration, crime, and the economy tended to vote Republican, while those who knew the facts preferred Democrats. Richardson continued, in a social media post, that reporter citing the post wrote, "A lot of voters are profoundly ignorant, more so than in the past." That jumped out to me, to Heather Cox Richardson, because there was indeed an earlier period in our history when voters were similarly ignorant. In the 1850s, white Southern leaders made sure that voters did not have access to news that came from outside the American South, and instead steeped them in white supremacist information. They stopped the mail from carrying abolitionist pamphlets, destroyed presses of anti-slavery newspapers, and drove anti-slavery Southerners out of their region. Elite enslavers had reason to be concerned about the survival of their system of human enslavement. I've read commentary that we're in what someone termed a civil Cold War, that the political differences in the United States, particularly between political conservatives and liberals, along with a minimizing of what were known as moderates, have moved us beyond reason and compromise into just aggravated opposition. And we've seen actual violent skirmishes, haven't we? Social issues of today don't have the same human wrongs of enslavement, but people are being hurt, even dying by restrictions caused by politics. Please do what you can to help ease the harm, to give comfort, to side with love. Living within the system in our political seasons of electoral change doesn't mean you must acquiesce. In paganism, Wikipedia says, blue is associated with peace, truth, wisdom, protection, and patience. We must have all of those qualities during this time of Donald Trump's improper reign. And know that we are more than the stereotypes politicians ascribe to us in the masses. When you need to take comfort in that Lennon and McCartney couplet, the sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you. Know that you're beloved. Dear people, care for yourselves. Take the time needed, which for some will be a very long time, to let the election blues fade. Imagine our chalice burning a blue flame that can represent and symbolize, according to Pantone's descriptions of classic blue, peace and tranquility. The flame of classic blue can recenter our thoughts, and the classic blue flame can foster resilience. You carry that fire to make the world good again. So be it.
Now, excuse me, it's now time for the offering portion of our service for those of you in this sanctuary and those watching on our YouTube channel. We are largely a self-supporting congregation, and your contributions go not only to keeping these doors open, but supporting liberal religion in Northwest Ohio and welcoming all to this place that encourages and supports, as we stated in our covenant, open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands here in this church and in our community. We ask that you give as you are able, generously and responsibly, and no matter how large or small. We appreciate the giver and giving as well as the gift. Thank you for helping Unitarian Universalism thrive in Toledo. On the screen, you will see several ways you can give, including baskets that we will begin passing in the sanctuary. The first here is the Venmo. You can take a shot of that. It's on the screen here. I'll give a second. uutoledo.org. Click give, then online giving on that QR code there. You can also reach us and send a check to our location here at the church, First Unitarian Church, 3205 Glendale, Toledo, Ohio, 43614. You can see a picture there. That's the envelope that should be in the pew rack in front of you, and you can check off. You can see the boxes on that. And once again, there is a basket in the lobby, as well as the baskets that are being passed in the pews right now. For our offertory music, this Sunday we feature Melissa Jeter and our choir singing This Joy, considering that there are those among us who aren't holding so much joy after the presidential election, and the fact that Kamala Harris's campaign did not prevail. Reverend Tim, had emailed Melissa and Jeffrey wondering whether to keep this joy as part of the offertory. Melissa replied, "My understanding is that joy is an eternal approach to life. In Black religious tradition, this is the reason for singing these songs in defiance of what would harm." Jeffrey told me that the version with Melissa and the choir is inspired by the Resistance Revival chorus singing it, and their video ends in the statement, if I can find it here. Oh, I don't think, oh, thank you, Reverend Tim. The Resistance Revival Choir believes in the words written by the poet Toy Dericotte when she wrote, "Joy is an act of resistance." We believe in the words of Mr. Harry Belafonte, who said, "When the movement is strong, the music is strong." We sing to revive the hearts of those who fight for social justice, and we sing together for freedom. For our offering, please give so we can further this joy.
This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me.
The world can't take it away. It's the coming soon part of our service where we tell you what's on the calendar for next week, we give some announcements, and we also let you know what's up for right after the service. Join us for Spiritual Forum at 9:45 on Sunday in Fellowship Hall for an hour with your participation. The topic Jenny Gottman, our Director of Lifelong Learning, presents us with is Tell Us Your Elevator Speech. Most of you know that the elevator speech is how you would describe Unitarian Universalism in the amount of time it takes for an elevator ride with someone who pretty much has no distraction from hearing you. And I hope this is an invited conversation, not some self-directed evangelism. I've given my elevator speech a few times from the pulpit, and the speech is always in development. What I say is along the lines of our all being on spiritual journeys. We don't all have the same route or even the same destination, but it's a joy to travel together, to share stories, and support one another in our seeking and sometimes finding when our paths meet. We can be of different beliefs, including none, and we can honor many ways of world religions. Many of us put faith in science and reason rather than the supernatural. Others might center themselves with earth-based spirituality or another way of being religious. And we concentrate on the good of this world that we know and the people in it. Next Sunday, come to Spiritual Forum with your elevator speech. Then for next Sunday's service at 11 a.m. here in the sanctuary and on our YouTube channel, my sermon is titled Of Truth, Spirit, and Law, Congregational Covenants. I'll talk a bit on the words that help this to be our church.
And are you appreciating this First Unitarian Choir as much as I am? Would you like to join the choir? Well, we'd like to have more singers, and we're getting close to Christmas, the 15th music service, and the Christmas Eve time for holiday stories and song. So it's time to begin rehearsing, and we need you. The time for choir practice recently changed, and now it's Sunday-only choir. It's a Sunday-only choir with rehearsal at 9:30 a.m., and the singing service begins at 11. There are no weekend rehearsals. If you'd like to be a member of the choir, please see our music director, Jeffrey Maxey, and show up next Sunday. In long ago days before the pandemic, our church had a group activity we called World Dining, in which Toledo Unitarians would meet at area restaurants to have fellowship and dinner and sampling the cuisine of different places. This week, the World Dining is continuing. The first diner will be at 6 p.m. this coming Thursday at Sidon Lebanese Restaurant. Wonderful place if you haven't been there, 4625 West Bancroft Street. In addition to dining together, this gathering will begin to organize future dinners. If you want to be part of this month's World Dining, contact Stacia. Thank you, Stacia Hansen, for standing up today or tomorrow to RSVP. This is the week of our annual holiday bazaar to be held this coming Saturday and Sunday. It's a big event for our church with a bake sale, food sale, Unitarian Universalist craft table, holiday table, raffle baskets, and more. And helpers are needed, as are vendors. If you know someone or you can help, it's much appreciated. Please get involved. We're in the home stretch now. Contact Sandra Kosek-Sills, I'm not sure if Sandra's out there, or Marna Slauson. I see Marna with her hands raised to get your assignments. And please take and distribute the flyers. I think some are in the pews and there's many at the back. The final coming soon entry is for me to repeat the invitation to join us in Fellowship Hall after today's service for coffee and conversation and social time together. Oh, and at 12:30 p.m. in Fellowship Hall, Carla Logan Mercer will have a quick meeting with all of you who are interested to set a solid plan for a Friendsgiving meal here at the church. including whether we will have Friendsgiving on Thanksgiving Day or the Saturday after.
Let's have one more observance of spiritual practice. We have gone beyond ourselves with pastoral time and turned within for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Now, recognizing the Buddhist thread in our congregation, we will share a time of metta, having for and sending to all beings love, kindness, and compassion. As the words come on the screen, please look at them, and then we will say the words together. After that, as we prepare to extinguish the chalice, you have the time to repeat this to yourselves. Our metta spiritual practice. May I, may we, and may all beings be well, be happy, be peaceful, be safe, awaken to the light of our true nature, and be free. Please join me in saying our words for sending the flame while Joe extinguishes the chalice. We send the flame from our Unitarian Universalist chalice with the love on which we center everything to fire up the world and spread equity, generosity, interdependence, justice, pluralism, and transformation. Go in peace, holding, knowing, and centering love in your lives, and sharing love in your actions.
This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. Love I have, yeah. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. No. This love that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love I have, the world didn't give it. The world didn't give it. The world can't take it away. This joy I have.
wonderful, yeah. I do. Nice talking to you too. Have a good day. It wasn't brought up today, but it's a couple weeks ago, like a couple meetings ago,